In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use Jane Davenport's Inkredible Inks to paint a very simple flower, and you can do this even if you've never painted a flower before. Super simple, so keep watching. So before we get to the actual video, I am so excited because I have managed to get my hands on some more Jane Davenport items. My Michaels doesn't carry a lot of it, and it's not going to carry really any of the new stuff. I got some collage papers, and I got one of the Inkredible pens. Actually, I got one for myself as well. And so you've seen me use this on my journal cover that I did. I have a part 1 and a part 2 where I use these just a little bit, and I am going to be doing another video where I use them more in like a more like collagey mixed media piece. And so, but if you want to see the video to the one that I've used them on already, I'll put the link right there. And I am so excited about the Inkredible pens because I was going to buy one a long time ago and I didn't. And I've regretted it since then, and they haven't had them in my Michaels, and they finally got them in, and they're almost all sold out. Like, they just got them in, like they were in for a day, and I got 2. I'm so excited. Mine, yours, yay! And a whole thing of collage papers, which I'm going to include. So these 5 items are going to be included in the giveaway. Acrylic stamps, which I've already done a video on. Here's some washi tape, and actually I used some of my washi tape from this package, from my own package like this, in the same one that I used this one in the same video. And I'm going to be doing a video with these, a couple of videos using these. And then I've done some different videos on this. So if you want to find out how to enter this all free, then keep watching. The first thing we're going to do is organize my space. And I just have this watercolor journal. I have a video on it that I did over a year ago. I did this to take to Maui with me so I could do some painting and whatever. This is such that I did. And you can find that journal or that video, but I think it's kind of long, and you know, a lot of my first videos are just rambling. You think I ramble now. This is nothing compared to what I used to do. So you can check out that video, but I am going to do another video of this sometime. I don't know when I'll get around to it though, so if you're impatient, you can check that out sooner and listen to a rambling video going on and on. I think it's in a video, something titled Traveling with Watercolors. I'll try to find it and put the link there if I can remember to do that. If not, it should be under my watercolor playlist thing. So we're using the Inkredibles, and it's funny because right now the other Inkredibles movie is coming out. So I keep feeling like I'm talking about the movie, and it just sounds funny in my head. Okay, so for those of you who have not seen my other videos with the inks, I did make some gouache from these, and I painted this flower, and it's just, it's weird because it gives a effect, like it's just so creamy, and by the way, this yellow is amazing. So it's not as transparent, and here's my wonderful gouache that I made from Jane Davenport's inks. So you will want to check that out if you haven't seen that video. What we're going to do now is I am going to take some water, and you're just going to take a watercolor brush, whatever one you have, honestly. It doesn't need to be anything special. And I'm hoping this water's a little bit dirty, but it isn't. So it does help to have a little bit of colored water so you can see what you're doing. But I'm just going to guess at what I'm doing. And we're just going to drop that in there. Oh, see, and I dropped that in the wrong place. That's okay. We're going to work with it. We're going to work with it. I can just make that into another petal here. There. So I don't, you've probably heard me say this before when I've worked with these, I don't really squeeze the dropper. I just touch it to the paper because There's so much, it's so intense. And I'm going to give you a little tip on how to dilute them a little bit, and a good way to do that. But for now, we're just going to keep working with this. So I kind of want to leave some white spaces there because I'm going to put some yellow in there, and it just gives it a little bit more of a center. So you can see I'm not doing a complicated flower. So you can do this. I don't want you to be intimidated thinking, oh, I'm not a watercolor artist or whatever. This is using the same kind of technique that we did with the ink, the little fashion figures. And it's, Jane calls it water drawing, and it's basically drawing with water and then just placing ink in. And so it can be just a really fun, possibly, hopefully, non-intimidating way to start, you know, working with watercolor techniques. By the way, this will work with watercolor as well. It just won't be as intense, which is also can be really nice because it's kind of nice to have a little bit of transparency. It gives more of an ethereal feeling. So I am just going to, so I did have a purpose for talking there for a little bit because I wanted to let this sit. So it wasn't just for me to babble on. It was because I did have a purpose in that. And I've just drawn a stem, and you can see that it's moving a little bit, but it's not going to move that much. This ink, I had someone comment saying that they weren't sure because I had mentioned that I was also going to make gouache with my India ink, my P.H. Martin's India ink. And they weren't sure how that would work because this isn't really a watercolor and it doesn't stain or it doesn't move. This and this behaves very similarly. So in as much as this works to make gouache and to move it, this will work. So if you do want to move this ink, you need to get to it ASAP. Think of it as a very staining watercolor. Those of you that might be familiar with that. Watercolor pigments like alizarin crimson and your phthalos, they stain and you want to get to them right away to move them. There's other watercolors that, you know, you can kind of let sit and they can dry and then you can come around and move it. These inks, like I could probably move it a little bit, and I'm going to show you just for the purposes of showing you, but it's not going to move too much. So once this is dry, you can work on it again. So here's the gouache, and you can see I moved it, but I worked on it right away. So you can make gouache with India ink. I just want to say that because someone did mention that. So I can pull this out, but it's just very light because I've let it dry too much. So I'm just going to, and usually what I do is I actually just squeeze that out. I squeeze it all out and just touch it because that's enough right there. And what should we do here? Let's make this just a little bit two-toned. See, that's intense right there. And we can shape it a little bit, help it to go in the shape we want it. I just want it to look quite simple. So here, I'm going to show you just quickly. No. So it kind of goes out, but it doesn't move in a nice way that watercolor would. Okay? So depending on what you want, if you want to be able to move it, you need to get to it right away or use watercolor. If you want to have it dry right away and be permanent, this is your thing right here. So I am just going to kind of move this around a little bit just so it kind of has more of a center. And like I left that white, it just kind of happened. I didn't really purposely leave it, but I think it just adds to the flower. I like just, you know, gives it more character. What I want to do now is what I was going to show you about the aqua pastels that you can do. And like I said, I don't have the aqua pastels, but what I do have is basically the same thing. So this is a technique that you may have heard about. I don't know if you have or not. I'm just going to spray this because this is pretty much dry now. It's a little bit wet, but I don't think it'll move too much. So I'm just going to give it a fine mist. This is just a fine mist water sprayer. You don't want anything that will put really big droplets on. At least I don't. I mean, you might decide that you want to, you know, feel free to go experiment and see what you like. So I will zoom in on this, and then you just take your knife, your X-Acto knife, and you just lightly cut some. It's basically you're sharpening your pencil. And don't worry about if any wood shavings come on here, because they won't stick. The only thing that's going to stick is the pigment into the water that you have. This is a watercolor pencil by Derwent. So the Magic Wand pencils that Jane Davenport has are not water soluble, so they won't work for this. And then I'll show you how it works. So this is just like how the aqua pastel would work. It's a little bit, you get a little bit bigger chunks. And this just kind of gives the effect of like pollen, you know, like something came around and dusted up the flowers and whatever. And if you find that it's not sticking, you can see here, you can spray it, or you can also just touch it lightly and the pigment will dissolve with the water and just stay right there. And I like doing it right over the dark of the flower because it just sits on there. And yeah, you could do the whole splattering, but this gives, you know, more of a, I feel like it's more true to life pollen kind of look. Does that make sense? And if you just get right up close, then you can really get that water there. I'm going to do some green. Let's see here. Let's try this one. Ooh, look at that green on that red. And it just gives, oh, it just looks like this flower is like full on causing allergies. Which if you have allergies, I'm sure you don't love that, but I don't have allergies, so I kind of like the look of this flower just dusting up. And if you've ever seen my more traditional watercolors, I do a really loose flower. So this one is not, for me, is not considered a loose flower at all. Okay. And you can kind of just see where you have water, and you know, if you want to put a little bit more there, it'll stick right in there. And then here, this is all dry, so I've got to, whatever. Kind of want, no, you know what? We're good. Okay, so now that that's wet, I'm going to take my, I don't want it too wet, but I'm going to try this and see. Hopefully it won't be too wet. Let's try a darker red. We'll try this color. So all I want to do is just define these petals a little bit. Like I want this to kind of just look like a non, you know, a loose flower in the way that it's not really defined and sketched out. When I do my loose flowers, I do them so that they're like the color's dripping, right? Which that's not what this is. But it is loose in that it's not really defined, and it's just a very, so what you can do is take, and you don't want to define everything exactly. You just want to put, you know, a line here, a line there on that side and this side, just to kind of give a little bit more information to the viewer that yes, this is a flower. I mean, they can figure that out already, but sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit more information. And that's the trick, is to just find out how much information you want to give and how much information you want them to just figure out for themselves. And then I think I'm just going to use my brush. This is probably a little bit big for what I would normally do. There we go. And I mean, we could do this a little bit better. Let's just see here, what do we got here? Have this more subtle. So this is exactly the way you can use Jane's water pastel, aqua pastels, that's what they're called. And look at, see that pollen, it just kind of went in there, or not the pollen, that yellow, like I just think that looks really cool. Of course, I'd try to do it in every one, and then it'd be overworked and it would look ridiculous. And for some reason, these inks, so this went pink, which, how awesome is that? So I'm just going to drop a little bit more on this just to make sure that that's, oh, that's pretty, that's wet. I think it's sticking. And then you just want to let that sit, and eventually it'll all soak in. And so that gives you an idea of how to just do a really basic flower for those of you who might be a little bit intimidated to start. And if you do, or if you are interested in doing more complicated flowers, I have lots of tutorials under my watercolor playlist. And I have this one, and some of them are just time-lapse videos with music. And I'm going to try to do more instructional ones because I know people like that. But I also know some people are like, okay, 2 minutes, I'm done watching the video. And they can only handle like 2-3 minutes of watching the video. That is that. And I need to tell you how you can enter the giveaway if you haven't already watched any of those other videos. So the way to enter the giveaway is you need to watch all the videos in the Jane Davenport playlist. And keep in mind that I don't necessarily have all of them up right now. So you need to, it might be helpful to click that little notification bell. And I will let you know when, you know, it's done. You don't have to worry about coming back and checking if there's more videos. Although hopefully, you know, you'll want to see some videos either way. But yes, I will let you know when it's done. And it is going to be wrapping up. I will let you know when the videos are done, but you have to watch all of them. And you have to comment on each of them. You can comment as many times as you want, and every comment will be an entry. I mean, don't spam me. But you do need to comment at least once on each video. You also need to be subscribed to me. So, oh, and click the like. Give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Just let me know why you're giving it a thumbs down. And that is how you enter to win those. So I hope that explains. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. So I will see you later on the next video.